Hello, 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 welcome back to Hunter Tuned. I'm working on the Turbo Grom build again, and I got the hardware to actually bolt the turbo completely on, and I got some bolts for this flange back here for the downpipe. So I went to the hardware store to get those, and now I'm working on my oil feed line. So this is the feed going to the motor, and then I installed my drain flange here with this half-inch pipe to 8 AN fitting, and I have this chunk of AN hose sitting around. So I was thinking, you know, put this on here like this, something like that, and then just drain it right back into this flywheel cover. So we'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to see if this oil feed line is even going to supply enough oil to the turbo so that this will drain oil out. I think that's how I'm going to test it. Is I'm probably just going to get the bike to start with this disconnected and just run this to you know, a Gatorade bottle or something like that, and we'll see if my spot that I just drilled and tapped. I talked to you guys in the last video about doing this, and I went ahead and did it, even though I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. And when I pulled this housing off, this is what I ended up with. I put the fitting directly in the center of the oil filter spring. So it comes out like this. This is an eighth inch pipe thread to -4 fitting. And I put it directly in the center of this housing. So I'm hoping there's going to be some oil pressure here, but I'm not 100% sure. And it sucks, when I took this apart initially, I did not realize how big the filter was that was inside of this. I kind of forgot. I haven't worked on this bike in a while. So the filter pretty much covers the entire housing. So if I were to put the oil pressure port anywhere else on this housing, the filter would not fit. So I had to go right in the center, and when I did that, I put the spring back in, and I put the filter back on. Ooh, come on. And the filter still compresses all the way, and the filter touches the outer housing. So that fitting is not actually blocking anything here. It's not hitting on the filter. So I'm kind of excited about that. If this is going to work, I feel like this is the best and only spot I'm going to be able to do it. So I'm going to get this back installed onto the motor. It's just 4 bolts in this little gasket, and now I'm going to hook the line up to it, and then I'm going to work on probably just temporarily tightening up the turbo, and then I'm going to get my fuel system back on the bike, and I'm going to try to start it and see if we have oil pressure going to the turbo. Alrighty guys, so I got my throttle body all back installed onto the bike. Kind of temporary. I'm going to go through a lot of this stuff here shortly. The oil feed line is hooked up, and on this side I did get my fuel pressure regulator and stuff back installed. I'm probably going to have to redo these lines considering the turbo is here now, so a lot of this stuff is kind of close. But I don't know if you guys see that oil right there. I did just kind of crank it over for a second. And we got oil pressure coming out. I'm gonna start it for you guys and show you the amount of oil that's coming out. It is very promising and I'm very excited about this. Yeah, she needs a little tuning, but there is oil coming out. So we do have sufficient oil pressure coming out, which is extremely exciting. The turbo is spinning, getting some oil in there. We do have an exhaust leak at the manifold because this flange, I don't know how these things technically gasket stock, but I'm probably gonna have to put some like copper sealant on the flange going to the head. You can open the door.
That's really loud.
I know, I'm not gonna start it again. So yeah, super cool. Oof. Look at all the moisture from the fuel. So just that little bit of running, there is quite a bit of oil that came out. So I'm gonna probably work on doing the return line to the timing cover here, or the flywheel cover. And like I said, I'm gonna have to redo a lot of this, all these lines and stuff. And my feed line is too short if I want to put the turbo out any farther, which I'm going to do. So I'm just gonna have to get a little bit longer feed line going to this thing. But hell yeah, I'm super excited. Clearly it has enough oil pressure to lube a turbo because it was pouring out of the return line pretty good. So I'm pretty confident in this oil feed line right here. If you guys watch a couple like Mighty Car Mods episodes, they did a little small turbo on a mini bike and they tried a bunch of different places for oil feed and stuff on the turbo on their engine. And they pretty much would have the line completely unhooked with the bike running and nothing would even come out of the line. So I know by the time it gets to the drain line, if it's coming out that fast, I think we got a winner. Alright guys, I don't know how much more I'm going to be able to do tonight on the bike. Did do a first startup on it, which is really cool. And we have oil supply. I feel like that was like the biggest thing I was scared of doing on this bike, is because a lot of guys have to go to a standalone oiling system, but on this bike with this engine it seems to be pumping out plenty of pressure, so I think we're gonna roll with that, and I'm just overall really stoked about that. So I think in the next Grom update video I might be putting a 90 off of this, and I'm gonna 90 and then put the turbo farther out here, and I'm gonna have to order a longer feed line. That way the turbo will be a little bit outside of the bodywork, and hopefully I can put my foot farther away from the exhaust. I also still want to get a set of rear sets for this thing so I can move the foot pegs farther back. If you guys know of any like good budget options, leave it down in the comments. I'd be really curious to check out a few different options. But overall, I'm just like, this is like a total big win for me tonight. Another thing too, like I was mentioning, is there is an exhaust leak off of here. I don't even have a gasket in here right now. So I think like factory exhausts and like my header from Paul La Vista, this one right here, it has a portion of exhaust that sticks out from the flange, and this seals up into the head. And I think maybe a factory one has a gasket around this section of the head. Currently I just have the flange mated to the head. There's no pipe sticking through the flange. So I have to figure that out as well. I don't really want to cut up this header, so I might just get another flange to redo the hot side again. This is all just trial and error, guys. I've never done this before, so I'm just learning, and I figure I'm going to document my experience with doing this. Also, I'm going to have to get a spark plug for this thing because the stock heat range plug is probably going to be a little bit too hot. I'd like to swap out the spark plug for, like, you know, I don't even know what's in there. Whatever plug was in this engine when I got it, it's the same exact spark plug. I never even changed it. So even doing the big bore and the upgraded cylinder head and stuff like that, it still has whatever plug was in there. So I want to research what spark plug to get, maybe step it down a heat range or two, and I might upgrade the injector as well, because I have this is a Snake Eater, I think it's a 750 cc Bosch. I might step it up to like 1000 cc injector, or possibly do like a Hunter Tune 1500 cc injector in it and run the bike on methanol, just so we can keep as much safety in it as possible if I'm, you know, experimenting and playing around with this thing. E85 is good, but this bike, I don't think I'm going to run an intercooler on it because there's really not any room when the radiator is installed and stuff like that. I'm just going to have a pipe coming down, and I'm going to have to build a plenum on this side, and then I'm going to have a coupler coming off the throttle body like this, and then this end is going to go to a plenum, which I have to find the calculator for the plenum. So on single cylinders, you need to run like an expansion chamber or like a boost, you know, chamber, because the pulses with a single cylinder will end up, you'll have like a delay and boost every stroke or something like that. I don't know the exact math behind it, but with a single cylinder, you need like a, I kind of think of it as a capacitor for like subwoofers. If you guys have voltage drop on like a stereo system, you put a capacitor in it to kind of get rid of those spikes and dips. Kind of the same concept on this. The capacitor is going to be a big plenum where extra boost pressure is stored. So in the event of a stroke where, you know, the exhaust isn't pumping or whatever, the turbo's not spinning how it was before, that plenum will have a little bit of extra boost still stored in it. And I'm going to run a blow-off valve off of it. This whole side of the bike's going to be like big blow-off valve, big plenum pipe right here, and then just a little guy, a little pipe running across to go to the turbo. So I have to figure all that stuff out. I got to order piping and couplers and all sorts of shit. But, and then figure out the exhaust, a set of rear sets. I have to drill the timing cover for the oil drain, which that shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm not too worried about doing all that stuff. And then redoing this hot side, moving the turbo farther back, I think is all I have planned for now. So another reason I have to move the turbo farther this way is because my wastegate actually doesn't fit. I tried, even with all my fuel lines and stuff running here, I took all the fuel system off and the wastegate actually hits the cylinder head. So here's the wastegate, and if I can keep the internal wastegate, I want to. So I'm going to move the turbo far enough over where I can still fit the wastegate arm, and hopefully we can utilize, you know, the wastegate that is meant for this turbo, instead of running a block off on the wastegate and then running an external gate. Even though I think an external gate on this thing would be silly. It would be super silly. And it's still not like out of the realm. And then obviously I have to, once I get all that stuff figured out, I have to plumb a boost reference into my fuel pressure regulator. So we have 1-to-1 on pressure rise for this. Walbro 255 is already in the tank. The fuel system stuff I already did before I even thought about doing this turbo system, because I've blown up a couple of Grom engines in the past because they ran lean. So I didn't want to run into any of that sort of issues with this thing. And if I break it, I want it to be because of power. I don't want it to be because it ran lean or detonated or anything like that. So spark plug, I got to figure out. You know, try to run it on methanol if I can. Or maybe have like a really soft E85 tune-up in it, you know, and have like a boost controller setting for low boost and then have like a switch for high boost or something like that. I think that'd be cool. I don't know, I have a ton of ideas. The fucking popcorn crackle tune out there ripping around right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background. Ruining the car scene, man. Y'all are making cars look bad doing them fucking crackle bullshit. But anyways, that's it. I'm gonna update you guys whenever I get more progress on this thing. I'll probably do some more Honda videos. I got a couple dyno videos that I have to edit still, and a couple more videos with the Malibu coming that I have filmed. I've been hyped on this Grom lately, so I wanted to kind of keep the momentum up and at least get some more progress on it. And today was huge. So super excited. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Like this video if it was helpful. It literally sounds like a thunderstorm outside with these fucking racers out crackling and popping around. But have a great night and a better tomorrow, and we'll see you in the next video.